welcome to Rotted Reviews, and today I want to take a look at a movie that was recommended to me by patron Shifty, who asked me to take a look at the 2019 movie from Ireland, Sea Fever. And when asked for an explanation about why this movie, he said, "I haven't heard much chatter about it, maybe others will enjoy it as much as I did." Well, I went ahead and I checked it out, and sure enough, it was a bit of a sleeper surprise for me. Now, this may be eking into a bit of spoiler territory. I'm not going to reveal how characters wind up, what the fate of anybody individually is, what the fate of the crew is, what the fate of the boat is, but I am going to be describing the nature of the danger in a little bit more detail than I ordinarily would, because I think it's worth exploring in more of a storyline context. I'll keep it as spoiler-free as possible, but some people might view it as a little bit more spoilery than most of my videos. I hadn't heard word one about this movie until Shifty recommended it, and I'm very, very glad that he did. There's not a whole lot of aquatic horror movies out there, certainly not a whole lot of them that are actually worth watching, but it's something that is just absolutely rife for horror. I think one of the big problems with it is logistically, it's expensive to film. Grand ideas that take place on the water are just a bit of a filming nightmare, in all honesty, with expensive equipment that can get easily ruined, expensive shoots, all sorts of different things that can go wrong, and difficult conditions in which to film. Just like the characters themselves, all the filming that takes place is really kind of at the mercy of Mother Nature in a very extreme way. But with so many mysteries of the deep and so much of the ocean unexplored, and then we get the lore of the deep ones and the ancient ones that slumber under the waves, it's just such a perfect environment for horror. It just doesn't mesh well with the realities of filmmaking. Unless you're James Cameron, but as far as I checked last, most people aren't. Written and directed by 𝗘𝗾𝗂𝗶𝗽𝗺𝗀, this movie follows principally the character of 𝗘𝗶𝗽𝗺𝗀𝗀, played by 𝗘𝗏 Core, as a marine biologist that is very comfortable in the lab, working on her own in an isolationist kind of environment, not so good with other people, and not really desiring to be out in the field, but even so, the bird must get kicked out of the nest. So her professor basically does just that and says, get the fuck out of the lab, go out into the field, and that's where she's forced to be, working on a fishing trawler as she's just collecting data and trying not to get in anybody's way. However, the trawler experiences some difficulties when it goes outside of its designated zone. You see, it's really kind of the last-ditch effort by this fishing crew to wind up with a good yield. If things don't go right on this trip, it's gonna be time to sell the boat. So desperate times call for desperate measures, and out of the boundaries they go. And unfortunately, once they do, they experience some odd phenomena that endanger all of their lives. There were a lot of horror elements present in this movie that made me absolutely fall in love with it. It has very grand scope ideals as far as the monster and monsters or whatever is plaguing the environment of this boat, and it also ekes its way into the microscopic scale where their bodies may be being invaded by things that can't even be seen with the naked eye. And it allows for a lot of character infighting, disbelief, not really wanting to believe what you can't see, and also very difficult decisions that kind of take place above and beyond just individual survival. There are questions of complex morality that take place, especially towards the latter half of this movie, that just are above and beyond what most characters in any other horror movie would ever have to deal with. It's very complex takes on morality and ethics amongst characters that are simply fighting for their lives and trying to find the best way to do so. This is a movie that's probably not going to be to everybody's taste. It is a bit slow in places. It's thoughtful, it's intelligent, and it's quiet when it needs to be, just like the main character of 𝗘𝗏𝗃. And I think that some people might find it to be a little bit of a snoozer, at the very least in between the moments in which a lot of things are happening. Just like the nature of any fishing trawler, there's a lot of hurry up and wait, where you have these lulls and then you have frenzied activity followed by a few lulls. So it really does kind of have an interesting little tempo to it. And again, that might not be to everybody's liking, but I found myself completely 100% riveted. And again, I do love the representation of the deep ones and the old ones, and not necessarily direct adaptations of Lovecraftian lore, but even so, the nature of the monsters from the depths kind of thing, I have a big soft spot in my heart for those, and I'm really happy to see them represented so well cinematically as they were in the 2019 feature Sea Fever. So thank you, Shifty, for recommending this one to me. I'm very happy that I watched it, and I'm very happy to recommend it to other people. So thank you again, and thank you for watching this video. I do hope you enjoyed it. Remember, next time you want to watch a horror movie, first make sure that it's good and rotted.